Hey, good morning, everyone. We'll start in about 3 minutes. See people coming on in. So good morning, everybody. We will get started in just about a minute. Give everybody a chance to come in here. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them as I'm presenting. And we have a guest joining us. His name is also Greg Henson. I'll do some introductions here in just a minute. Hey, Greg, how are you?
Good. How are you, Philip?
We'll give it just one more minute here, and then we'll jump in and get started. Thanks for hopping on. We're right at 11, so I think we'll get started. First off, my name is Phil Lucazonis. I'm one of the veteran advocates here at Cloud Veterans. I think I've spoken to a few of you. I recognize some of the names in the chat. So hello and welcome, and thank you for joining. We have a couple of different speakers on with us today. Obviously, Greg Henson, who most of you probably already know, who just jumped on, and then Greg Henson's son, who's also named Greg, is joining us as well. Greg Henson Jr. is a little bit more of an expert on Perplexity, which is what we'll be reviewing today. I'm going to go through and give a very basic overview of the tool. Greg, if you want to jump in or insert yourself at any time with more information, do that.
Yep. Sounds good, Philip. Hey, everyone. Happy Saturday. Thanks for jumping on.
You as well. Thanks, Greg. Okay, cool. So let's jump right in. Are there any questions or anything in the chat? If you have questions, just throw them in the chat or raise your hand. I see we have about 10 or 12 people in the chat so far. So again, just throw your question in the chat, raise your hand. I can promote you to a panelist if you want to ask a question or unmute you. But with that, I think we'll just get started. And then again, Greg Jr., if you have anything to add, just jump in and I will hand it over to you. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to walk through some of the basics of Perplexity. And just, Greg, if you could verify that you can see my screen.
Looks good.
So this is Perplexity, right? Another AI tool. I know we've reviewed Notebook LM, we've reviewed Claude, and now we're jumping into Perplexity as our next tool. So I'm going to jump into some of the very basics, the user interface, what Perplexity is, how it compares to some of the other tools that are out there, and a few of the different ways that I've used it so far, right? So up here is the URL, perplexity.ai, if you wanted to get started and get logged in. There is a free version. There are a couple of different paid versions as well. I'll go through those really quick. The first version is $17 billed monthly. I think it ends up being about $20 exactly monthly after taxes and stuff. And that gives you access to pretty much everything. There are some limitations to the different models that you could use. And I'll go into that in a second. But this really gives you the basic functionality that you need to start using it today. And then you have the max plan as well, which essentially gives you more credits to use, right? So way more usage, but also gives you access to different models. And again, I'll share what that looks like here in a second. Both give you access to the chat and Perplexity computer as well. And again, I'll jump into the specifics there. But these are the only two options they have right now. I believe they are considering creating some in-between options that'll be rolling out soon. But as of today, these are the only two options that you have for subscriptions to Perplexity.
And you do need at least the pro tier to access computer, which is kind of the main feature that they offer. It's probably important to throw out there as well.
Correct.
Without the pro,
yes.
you just have access to the basic chat feature.
Good point. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and again, you could use the free version and just use the chat functionality if you wanted to try it out. But I did set up myself with a pro version, which does give you access to computer. So this is the main user interface, right? Once you get logged in, I'll start on the left-hand side here. You can start a new chat. And when you start a new chat, you have a couple different options here. You have the basic search functionality, which is essentially Google, where you can type in a question and it'll search the web and give you an answer. However, their claim to fame here is that it's more accurate and it gives you the sources that it's citing when it goes and does that research. So it's trying to give you factual information and trying not to hallucinate like a ChatGPT or a Claude may do, right? And then the other option here, once you start a chat, is the computer model, which what it does is pretty cool. So over here on the right-hand side, you can see that I have the different models that I can use. So I could use Claude, I can use Claude Summit, I can use Claude Opus, or I could use ChatGPT as a model for computer when I get in here. So a couple of different things. When I jump into search and I click the model, it's giving me the option to use the best option. So Perplexity will recommend what is the best option model when I'm trying to do X, Y, or Z. So if I'm trying to write a research paper for school, it might use a different model versus if I'm trying to build a PowerPoint presentation for work, right? Or if I'm trying to generate images, right? So it'll use the different options down here, the different models based on what I'm trying to do. Again, some of them are locked because I don't have the max plan. I'm on the pro plan, but everything that is highlighted here is available. I've always just kept it on the best option, and it shows the model for me. And typically, it was choosing the correct model for the task that I gave it. Greg, anything you wanted to add to that?
Let's see here. Oh, you did mention something along the lines of Perplexity. One of its strengths is its ability to get real-time data compared to the other AI softwares like Claude or even GPT sometimes. I think Perplexity is the best at gathering the latest news or headlines, whatever it may be. That's what I've noticed so far with this search feature that they have. Sometimes Claude does hallucinate a bit when I'm asking, what did Trump say recently in the Iran war, which changes all the time. So I think Perplexity is probably the strongest in terms of gathering that real-time information. Yeah.
Agreed. An example that I was testing earlier is I think I asked Google who won the most medals in the most recent Olympics. And I kind of compared the different models. Obviously, Google is going to list the most relevant articles first by what it thinks. So typically it's like ESPN or other sports networks where it may not go into the specifics of my exact question versus when I ask it in here, it did give me the breakdown of the most medals from the last Olympics. It gave me a chart and a graph as to exactly who won that. So there is some hallucination in other models. I've noticed that Perplexity is more accurate and it really understands the question that you're asking a little bit better. Cool. So yeah, we'll move down the side here. Again, you have the computer option here. You could switch back and forth between computer and chat when you're in a new chat. However, computer will also save your historical chats here. Spaces, I would compare Spaces to projects in some other tools, right? So for example, you have Claude projects where you can build a project, documents or articles to that specific project, and then ask it to reference those specific articles when you're asking it questions. So for example, if I jump into this one, it will give me the chat. I have a couple, I can add some different files or different articles inside of here, and it will reference those articles within that specific project, right? So if you wanted to separate and save some of your projects in a separate area, that's where you would do it, is over here in the Spaces. You also have artifacts. So as you're building or as you're having the tool generate different artifacts for you or documents or walkthroughs, all of those artifacts will be listed here under the Artifacts tab. I believe if you build it in a chat or in computer, the artifacts will all appear here if you just wanted to search for them. And you do have a search bar up here. So if you have a bunch of different artifacts in here, you can easily use that search bar to search for the title.
Hey, I'll jump in real quick here. I just learned this a few days ago, but with artifacts in Perplexity as well as GPT or Claude or all of them, really, they all list this artifact feature. It basically can pull documents together based on your internal knowledge. But I thought an interesting use case of this was a buddy of mine was looking to hire a growth hacker to help his startup. And I said, well, if you have a job description, send me the JD. That would help me sort of see if I know anyone in my network. And he sent me an artifact from Claude that he had shared. So you can share artifacts as well externally, whether it's a job description or a startup idea or a pitch deck. These artifacts are pretty powerful. And if you haven't played around with it, not many people have. Get in there and take a look and play around with it and understand how it works. So when a use case comes up in your everyday work, you can apply it quickly here under artifacts.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Okay, moving on to customize. So again, similar to some of the other tools, first we have the connectors. under customized. So obviously, I want to say there's 400 plus different connectors that are affiliated with Perplexity, where you could come in and connect it to your Google Drive, right? If you want to give it direct access to your Google Drive or your SharePoint or your Dropbox. I think you can connect it to LinkedIn. You can connect it to Notion. So the same concept behind what's built into Claude or ChatGPT, where you can build those connectors, give it access to the data that's inside of these different apps, just to make your life a lot easier rather than copy pasting the documents in. So if you have a bunch of documents in your Google Drive, or you have a folder within your Google Drive that you're running a project on, you're building it in Perplexity, easily give it access, and it can go and do those tasks for you. If you wish to give it access to your Google or your Google Calendar, you could even have it draft or send emails on your behalf if you gave it the access and specified the things that it had inside of there. So again, very similar to what's in Claude and ChatGPT. Go ahead, Greg, sorry.
Yeah, I just had a quick note on that Gmail connector, because I just set it up the other day on Perplexity. I previously used it on Claude, and the main issue I had was on Claude, it can only connect to one of my emails. So whether it's, monitoring my emails or creating drafts, it can only do it, for one email. And it was very nice when I had it for that one email, but I also have, 3 or 4 other ones that would be nice to monitor as well. With Perplexity, I was actually able to connect all of my accounts, all my Gmail accounts in there. So that was a nice feature I thought I had.
Yeah, no, very cool. Yeah, I think Claude, you can only do one. And in fact, it's like an Outlook account. You can only connect it to a business Outlook account. You couldn't use like a personal Outlook account. So yeah, some positives and to both sides of the difference, but that's cool. Thank you. Moving on to skills. So this is really, if you are building a project, or let's say you have a space built out for a specific product that you're working on, and you want to give it specific skills and specific instructions as to how to go and act when working inside of a specific space, or just general instructions. I like to give, like for Claude, for example, I've given it general instructions to not use dashes or AI specific writing or emojis when it's building different documents, so that whenever I give it a command to go and do something, it doesn't do that. So you can build some of those skills in here by creating a new skill and give it instructions on exactly how you want it in different scenarios, right? And you can even have different skills built in for different spaces, right? So you have one project that has a certain set of skills and instructions versus another project that might have different skills and instructions.
Yeah, I'll also add to that, Philip. Skills are super powerful for like repeated tasks. So for example, before AI, I would go onto my LinkedIn every weekend, and I would look at my analytics and ask it what its followers, what's the growth look like, what posted well. It was very laborious type of process. Now I just created a skill, and you can name it whatever you want. Mine is called analytics review. And basically what I do, I have the skill for me. I don't try and write it myself, or I go to GPT and I say, hey, give me a prompt that will be a saved skill in Claude, because you can cross-reference, that's going to review, that is a growth expert, that's going to review and analyze all my posts over the last 7 days and tell me what's working, tell me what's not working, and tell me what I should do more of. You copy that prompt out of GPT, and then you put it into Claude chat, and you just say, create me a skill based on the prompts below, and boom, and 2 seconds later, you'll have that skill saved. Now, here's the beauty about skills. You don't have to remember the exact name. So if you remember, I called it LinkedIn Analytics Review. Odds are me remembering that perfectly every weekend is going to be hard. All you have to do is say, hey, run the skill that looks at my LinkedIn. You can use sort of layman's language to call the skill. It's not like a command prompt in DOS where you have to be exact to the letter. You can just tell it to, hey, you don't even have to know the name of the skill. Just say, hey, I know I have an analytics LinkedIn thing. I forget the name of the skill, find it and run it. And boom, it'll use. So definitely play with skills if you have those sort of repeated tasks. competitor intelligence. If you wanted to scan your competitors' websites over the last 7 days, see what's changed, see if they've changed anything, that's a great use for a skill. If you write articles often on LinkedIn, or you write posts on LinkedIn, or you see posts that you like, you can give it the post that you like and have it create you a skill that will write similar posts. So those are a few other items.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig.
Yep.
And then, so moving down, so workflows, not super familiar with workflows, but basically it's giving automated, repeatable tasks to the AI agents to complete start to finish. So basically you're giving it, you're like doing some deep research, rather than just prompting it over and over again or giving it different chat commands. You're giving it a complex task and telling it to go and execute while you can go back and do work on something else. Is essentially what workflows are, or triggered tasks, right? I believe you can build triggered tasks out of workflows as well to happen on a specific schedule. Correct me if I'm wrong, or if there's anything else that you wanted to.
Yeah. No, that was all right. The one thing I wanted to add with workflows that's kind of cool is the more you use Perplexity and it kind of knows your job and what you're trying to do, you can use this as a tool and it will look at the most productive things that Perplexity can do for you and then build some skills for you or generate ideas for workflows or skills that would benefit for you. And you can kind of use that to brainstorm, all right, what skills should I create or workflows can I make that would benefit me the most? And Perplexity will help you create those automations. So I like workflows a lot.
That's a great. Claude is also a little similar in that you've been using it for a few months or even a few weeks. You can just ask Claude, hey, what skills do you recommend that I build inside of Claude? And it will look at your whole chat history and say, you know what, you do this a lot. You should have a skill for this. You should have a skill for that. Would you like me to create them? You say yes, and boom, it creates all the skills for you. So it will help you if you let it help you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you. And I think we touched on memory a little bit earlier. I think I may have mentioned it in the skills section, but this is a personalization feature that allows the AI assistant to remember different tasks and different commands that you've given it. And again, it'll use tasks and commands across just a specific project or across the entire units with Perplexity. So you can give it you can command it during a chat to say, hey, remember this, or you can tell it to do something and say, hey, do this for all of my different tasks that I give you across Perplexity, or just give this specific memory to this specific project, right? So it's kind of up to you how you build that out, but it will remember tasks and skills that you've given it throughout your journey with it. Anything else to add on the customization section before we move on there, Greg?
I don't think so. I don't have anything for that.
No. Has anyone on the call used Perplexity? Do they have any thoughts or comments so far? Feel free to drop it into the chat.
Didn't see anything in the chat quite yet, but yeah, please, if you have anything, throw a question or comment in the chat. We can always unmute you if you have something to add. But yeah, go ahead and utilize that chat. Otherwise, I'll move on to some real world scenarios here. So I built a couple of chats that I want to walk through with you guys. The first one is here, which is the military to civilian experience, right? To translate my experience. So I prompted it at the top here. I just said, act as a military to civilian career translator. Map my specific experience to safe, high-growth civilian tech sectors, and provide a translation matrix for performance evaluations, right? And then I uploaded both my DD-214 as well as one of my most recent resumes for a job that I had applied to. And it gave me some specific tasks, specific bullet points about my experience, how to translate that experience into the civilian world, and then how to continue that conversation on, right? So I think section 4, top 5 career pathways was cool. Physical security technology consultant, corporate threat assessment. So it gave me different sectors that I would be fit to work in based on my military and my civilian experience. It gave me a guide here, which is really cool. I didn't for this, I just generated it. And you can continue prompting it through here. So, and then what I did too was I did some company and job research, which was pretty cool. Again, I gave it my DD-214 and my most recent resume. And I asked it to review the resume, translate my military experience into civilian-ready resume bullets for customer success manager for a managed service IT provider role. So I gave it that task. It gave me some bullet points for my resume that I could use for my skills or my experience. It gave me some best version for targeted roles, right? So leading teams, coordinate incident responses, building trust with stakeholders. So these are different skills that I've built throughout my time in not only the military, but my civilian job as well. Different suggested role entries. I asked it to kind of fine tune that a little bit. So really it's kind of the same thing, but just a little bit more fine tuned as I scroll down. And then what I did was I found a job. So similar to the roles that I was looking for, customer success for a managed IT provider. So I went into LinkedIn. I found this specific job. I have no affiliation with this company whatsoever. It was just the first one that popped up that kind of fit the bill. So I use this. I have their LinkedIn profile pulled up. I have their company website pulled up, and I have the customer success manager role that is open within their company pulled up. And I gave Perplexity all of those different links, right? So I'm interested in this role at 1111 Systems. Here's their company information. I gave them their LinkedIn, the company website, as well as the open rec they had. I asked it to use social media and review what they're saying, their sentiment about the company, average salary ranges, work-life balance, themes, and the technical bar for entry into this role. And it spit out quite a bit of information about the company, about the role, as well as the different links and sources that it pulled that information from. So super interesting how it kind of broke it out, right? Obviously, the comments and the websites on the specific company say one thing. However, the employee sentiment said something a little bit different. So that was kind of interesting, where it says that the sentiment is mixed with some clear positives around flexibility and benefits, but real red flags in reviews about leadership, consistency, and job security, right? So kind of gives you a glimpse behind the curtains as to what a day in the life at that role would look like. It also gave me some salary and compensation expectations, right? So it's listed as 90 to 150, but they're estimating it to be around 120,000 per year. So some more information there. Work-life balance, right? Gives me some information here. Says that there's some good work-life balance and flexibility. So I mean, really, it kind of scoured everything, a lot of Glassdoor, a lot of LinkedIn posts. And what I've also found in different chats is that it will reference Reddit quite a bit. And I think Reddit, as we all know, is really candid, right? People are not afraid to speak their minds on Reddit. So it could be, both positive and negative to this, but it will reference Reddit quite often as well. So it also tells how this aligns to my profile, right? Which is really cool. And then, yeah, so really cool deep dive into a specific job, a specific company, their background, the people that work at the company, right? And I just conversation, so you could go even further with this and ask it to give you specific people that work at the company. Who is their CEO? Who is their CTO? Give me their LinkedIn profiles. Maybe are there any articles that they have recently written or something interesting that I should know about that person? But you can really use this tool to prepare yourself. If you do get an interview, if you end up applying for this job, you get an interview, you have a lot of ammo here to prepare yourself for that interview and prepare yourself for that opportunity. Questions on what I anything to add, Greg?
No, I think that was great.
One thing, actually, I probably should have mentioned this before I jumped in here, but I wanted to talk about bluff prompting. I'm not sure if you've all heard about this yet, but when you're creating prompt, it's very easy to go in and just kind of like brain dump what you're thinking into a prompt and like expect the AI tool to go and figure it out, which it typically can. But if you want to be more strategic with your prompts, using a bluff prompt is more effective. And what this means is bluff stands for bottom line upfront. So essentially, you're giving the conclusion of what you're trying to accomplish first in your prompt, rather than burying it somewhere deeper in the prompt, right? So I think far too often we kind of, like I said, kind of like word dump or brain dump all of our thoughts into a prompt and expect the tool to go in and figure it out. If we're a little more strategic with that and we define exactly what our outcome needs to be first and then give more details afterwards, that's going to give you a better outcome with what you prompt into these tools. So I've built out a document that I'll share with you guys after the call. This section is in that document, so give it a quick read. It's just something to consider when you're building out your prompts, and I try to do that in some of my company and job research investigation up here. Any questions on that? Comments? We're moving right along. One other item that I did build was generate an 8-week study plan to help me pass the AZ 104 exam. I have 10 hours per week. Weight the plan toward the highest value exam domains and include a practice test schedule. So I tried to use the bluff prompting method to build this prompt. So it was very targeted and specific about what I was trying to accomplish and what I needed the tool to spit out in the end. And it gave me a pretty extensive plan as to how to study for this exam. So the overall structure, what it is, right? How much time's allotted. It gave me my weekly breakdown, right? So 4 hours of theory in the video docs and study guide, 4 hours of hands-on labs, and then 2 hours of review, question, and practice test per week, right? That equals 10 hours per week. And then I broke it down week by week and the best way to handle this. Now, I know a lot of this is already included in Pluralsight's classes, right? So you can kind of just go through the process there. But if you really wanted to break it out, right? So you could take one of those classes. You could even give Perplexity the agenda for that class and all of the different videos and study guides that are in there. Give it your time allotment per week, right? We're supposed to be in there 5 hours per week, 45 minutes a day, whatever it might be, and let Perplexity build that model for you, right? It can look at those videos. It can tell you, on Monday, do these 3 videos and take this practice exam. On Tuesday, do this. On Wednesday, do this. So it might be a great tool if you're trying to build out that schedule and trying to balance your work with your life and your family and then studying for the exam, right? So a great tool to help you build out that schedule and that calendar. And I believe towards the end, it did give me, so it's building out the practice test schedule and the different topics that it's going to focus on. So 20 to 30 questions on identities, 25 to 40 on governance, so on and so forth. And again, it does cite its sources on every single one of these. So obviously you want to make sure that it's giving you the right questions. Use official study guides from Microsoft or AWS or Google, whatever exam you're studying for. And then I haven't completely built the exam yet, but the next step would be to actually go and build that exam. So it's a really great tool to help you organize your day. You give it all the information it needs, similar to other AI tools, and it will build all of that for you.
This is a great use case. I have it for a couple of different assignments like finance, Spanish one. It really makes everything, it breaks down everything and structures it in a very simple, easy to understand kind of, curriculum for you to follow. So I really like this one.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. So I'm going to stop sharing here for a second. Are there any questions or concerns? I didn't have a ton of demos to show you. As you can see, I didn't have a ton in here. I just started playing with the tool a few days ago. But any questions or concerns or comments that anybody wants to add before I go into a couple other things?
It looks like chat's been disabled. I don't know if we can enable chat.
Oh. Yeah.
Perplexity is deployed. So there are some chats in here. Chat is disabled. It looks like it's disabled for everybody. Do we have the recording on too, Philip?
We do. Yeah, that is recording.
Okay.
We have a hand up here though, so I'm gonna unmute Joseph here.
Okay.
Joseph, can you come off mute? It looks like you have your hand up and you had a question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hey,
I was really just trying to holler and get someone's attention since about 10:15 that the chat was not working.
oh, I'm sorry.
But I do have one of the questions that is in the Q&A. I'm not familiar with Perplexity. Is it a plugin for Claude, or Claude plugs into Perplexity, or is Perplexity a plugin for Notebook LM, or are these are all separate subscriptions? I'm not familiar with this.
Great question. So if you use Perplexity, for example, I showed in the beginning here, there are different models that it uses, right? So if I click this drop down here, we have ChatGPT, we have Gemini, we have Claude. You don't need a subscription to each one of these to use Perplexity. The subscriptions to those are built into Perplexity, right? So when you prompt it here, it's going to use the best model available to build whatever it is you're trying to build or answer your question. So no, you don't need subscriptions to each of these to use Perplexity. What I will caution though is I've tested both sides. I think that if you're trying to build something in ChatGPT, specifically building it directly in ChatGPT may be a little bit better than building it in Perplexity when it's referencing that tool. I don't know why. I've noticed some differences there, but you do not need subscriptions to each one of these. It's not necessarily a plugin. It's given you access to all of those, so it kind of sits on top of all of those different AI tools that are shown here. And again, as you upgrade, it does give you access to additional tools and additional usage.
Because I use Claude, and they have a nice couple features in there, but this seems that I could keep a more steady reporting process with Perplexity here to get more trending and stuff.
Exactly. The only thing I would caution you to, I use Claude quite a bit as well. And the one thing, and Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't found like a Claude co-work version in Perplexity where you could or you could give it a folder on your local computer to go and run a project out of. I don't believe that's something that's built into Perplexity quite yet.
I don't know if it is either. You may be able to work inside of a space when you hit that little plus icon on the chat. So you may be able to kind of like, work in a folder that way. One of the benefits I like Perplexity over Claude, it may not be as fully advanced, but I do like using Comet, which is their browser, Perplexity's browser that they've created. And they have a assistant in that browser built in, which I find works a bit better than the Claude Chrome extension. So if you wanted like an AI chat in your browser, Perplexity with their Comet browser, I think kind of beats Claude in that aspect.
Greg, can you show us a demo? You want to promote a presenter, Philip?
Yep.
Let me make a new window here.
Just promoted you, Greg, so you should be able to present now.
All right, great.
And I'm sorry, everybody, if I didn't realize the chat wasn't working. So if you did have a question or comment, just raise your hand, and I will unmute you and allow you to ask your question or state your comment. Sorry about that. I didn't realize the chat was turned off.
I'm getting an error when I try to connect my screen here.
I
don't know if you guys see that too.
I can see now, Greg, but at first I just see a black screen.
What do you guys see right now?
I see you.
Okay. System settings. It's not letting me share my screen here for some reason.
That's okay.
That's fine. No worries. But one thing I'll mention about Comment, and Greg, maybe you can also give some of the use cases that you've recently done. But for example, if you're researching something typically in Chrome or any browser, you have multiple tabs open, sometimes 20 or 30 related to the same exact research thing that you're doing. With that assistant that Greg mentioned, you can just type in there, hey, go through all my tabs and compare this, and that, and tell me which one's the best choice based on X. And it will read each of your tabs for you. You don't have to go from tab to tab to figure it out yourself.
Yeah, with the assistant, you can work in multiple tabs at the same time, whereas Claude and Chrome extension struggles to do that a bit more.
We can see your screen now, Greg, if you wanted to.
You can see it?
Yep.
Okay, so if you can see my email here, You can see the assistant open in the side on the right,
Yep.
and whatever tab you're in, it'll automatically show you a couple things that it can do for you, which I like, because sometimes you open it and you don't even really know what to ask for, especially if you're a first-time user. So I open the assistant and it tells me some things that it can already do that maybe I haven't thought of. So summarize a thread, find important unanswered emails. One thing you can also do is tell it to tag all of your emails. And, it'll take about maybe 5 minutes, but it'll go through all of your emails and attach a tag so that when you're scrolling through, you don't actually have to read every email line by line. You can just see the tags and what's relevant, maybe what's not. And yeah, this is just for inside of Gmail, what it can do. So if I go into any other platform, what's another good one we could do here? My Drive. Okay, yeah. So if I open up Drive here, open an assistant, the first thing it asks me if I want to do is organize and rename folders. So anytime you want to work inside of your browser, and maybe it's kind of a repetitive task or something simple that's just kind of tedious, you can open up Assistant and it will most likely be able to take care of it, which I like.
Greg, if you're using the browser, do you also need to set up the connection in Perplexity for it to be able to take action on something inside of the browser?
So what I did to connect everything was I just signed in with Google in Perplexity. I think you can sign in with any one of your email addresses, but I signed in with Google, and this is how you can see my bookmarks all at the top. This is how my Google Chrome looks. So once I signed in with Google, it basically just took my Chrome browser with all my bookmarks and tabs and everything I have and put it in here. So it looks the exact same to me. I'm already familiar with it. Now the only thing that's changed is I have the assistant feature, which I don't have in Chrome. So it was very easy to set up actually.
And Comet is a completely separate browser altogether than Chrome or Edge. It's not just like a plugin or something or an extension. It's a separate browser altogether.
Correct. Yep. It's Perplexity's separate browser.
Yeah, when you install the Perplexity computer locally, it will ask you if you want to install it. If you say no by accident, you can go to their website and download it, but it's a separate download. It's a separate product that lives outside of Perplexity computer.
And also, like if I hit the new tab in here, I have access to Perplexity inside of Comet too. You don't have to go back and forth. Everything you would have in Perplexity is built into Comet already. So it makes it a bit more convenient. Also, I don't know if you have this in just the Perplexity app itself, but in the top here, I have different like tabs such as Discover, where I can see the different news headlines, different tickers, and I can actually go in here and start a new chat. If I had questions about, S&P 500, I could ask it any questions where the market's at, or any of these articles, You have the top topics. If I go back here too, you have finance, health, academic, patents. Perplexity is also very good at the finance section. That's kind of where they exceed compared to other AI softwares. So they have their own, finance section, and you'll see this in kind of their marketing as well. They always kind of promote like the finance side of their platform. But yeah, just another interesting thing I thought I'd show you guys.
One quick comment. Perplexity is available for the mobile devices as well. iPhone, Samsung, you can download Perplexity Computer and install it. And Comet as well. You can download Comet as a separate browser for your phone and still have the same features.
Awesome. This is really cool. Thanks for sharing, Greg.
Oh, last thing with Assistant too. Let me pull it up very quick. All right. Yeah, so in the Claude.
Real quick, Greg, before you continue, I want to make sure we have a hand up here. I want
Oh
to make
yeah,
sure
yeah.
I do him before. Is it Robert? Oh, maybe not. Go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
I just wanted to say how Assistant, it actually does have the voice model too. So I like to always use the voice feature when I'm using AI. It just allows me to get more done. I don't have to type every word I'm thinking. And the Claude Chrome extension doesn't have that, which is super annoying, especially if you're trying to do something a bit larger. Maybe it's a larger piece of work you're trying to get done. You can just speak to the assistant as well instead of typing a couple paragraphs in there, which is nice. So, anyways, continue. Did we get all the questions?
I think so. Yeah, there were a couple of hands up, but they went down. So I think we're good. And I apologize, everybody. We can't figure out how to get this chat so that you guys can. Oh, here we go. Hang on. I think we might have this perplexity. Okay, we answered that question. I'm seeing some of the questions in here now, but I think we're good. So just some guardrails, I think, which is important. And Greg, you can probably attest to this because you're using it, but I certainly wouldn't give Perplexity access to maybe your bank account information, tax information, financials. There are some guardrail notes in here from Perplexity as to what to be careful with when using an AI tool. So that's completely up to you, but I wanted to mention that obviously for safety reasons. And then, like I said, I did create a shareable document that I will email to everybody once we get the full list of attendees, kind of with everything that we talked about here with different links, and some of the prompts that I used, that I had shared earlier that you can try to replicate, as well as some call to actions. So if you guys wanted to go in and download it, and try it out, there's a few get started items in my file that you can check out as well. If you have additional follow-up questions afterwards, feel free to email us. I will put my email in the chat here, as well as our general Cloud Veterans chat, so that you guys can reach out to us if you have questions. But also don't hesitate to reach out to us on LinkedIn as well. Greg, do you want to throw your LinkedIn into the chat?
I'll throw my email in there as well.
And then I'm actually having trouble with the chat myself now. But hello@cloudveterans.com is our general email address. If you have general questions about this project, about Perplexity, about any of the other AI tools, Claude or NotebookLM that we've reviewed in the past, you can email us there directly. Or if it's just a general question. What's that?
Excuse me, I apologize for interrupting you.
Sure.
Maybe since maybe you could put in the Q&A all the links you were just talking about, because there's nothing in chat at all.
Oh, really?
And when you go to chat, guys, you have to hit the drop down and say everyone. Otherwise, it's just host and presenters. It's the default setting. So in chat, there's a little drop down. Just choose everyone instead of the default.
There's no option to send to everybody, Greg. We're gonna have to get that fixed for next
Okay.
time. It's just a host and panelist right now. So we'll have to
Weird.
we'll get everybody's emails that signed up for this event, and we'll send you everything kind of in a packaged email. I apologize for the issue with the chat, but we'll get it fixed for next time. But yeah, we'll email everything. I'll email the follow-up document that's been built. I'll also email myself, Greg, and Greg's LinkedIn profiles and email addresses to Cloud Veterans if you need to get a hold of us. And yeah, we'll get this chat fixed for next time. I truly apologize that it's not working. But any other closing remarks or follow-ups, Greg?
No, we're still planning. We're doing these every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Does anyone have an AI that they would like to see on the next live overview? Maybe Gemini or GPT. We haven't covered any of those yet. If you think of any, even random ones, feel free to just email us or drop it in Discord with your thoughts on what you'd like to see next. And we want to make sure we're bringing you guys the information you're looking for. But thanks everyone for jumping on today. Hope it was useful, and feel free to shoot us some questions afterwards if you have any. But also there's a lot of great free training for Perplexity and pretty much all AI within YouTube. So take a look at that as well.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, everybody. Happy Father's Day weekend to all the fathers out
Yes.
there. Enjoy, take some time to unwind and relax. But thank you so much for joining. Again, we'll be sending an email afterwards with all of the information that I mentioned, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one.
Take care. Thanks, guys, for presenting.